Oh, let's take for example Ben Simmons. I know he's in LA right now working on his shot. He has shooting coaches and all of that, but he can work on his shot all he wants. But if his mental is not there, you know, all that work is not gonna matter. And you can see it in the playoffs. So like a guy like that coming into your office, how would you work on him from start to finish?
Yeah.
First what we would do is we do an assessment. Like, so we have a thing like I think it was a free throw that you were talking about in particular with them, right?
Yeah, just shooting overall.
So he's gotten training, his whole life. I mean, the guy's had experts, he's worked with them, so there's not going to be a whole lot that I would be able to provide him that's going to help him with how his form is, etc. So what I would want to do is an assessment where we have this thing called a performance timeline, and it has in there like I'll just kind of do it with you. So if you were Ben Simmons, I would say, hey, so I have this form in front of me,
Yeah.
and what you can see is we're going to take your free shot, your free throw shot as the as the performance based action. And what I would like to do is you can see here that there's things that happen during your free throw shot. There's things that happen seconds before, minutes before, and days before. But also on the other side, there's things that happen seconds after your free throw shot, minutes after, and days after. And so I'd like to ask you, what is the time point that most affects you? And then he might say, let's just say seconds before. And I say, okay, great. Now, if you look down this thing, you can see these are the factors that oftentimes affect how someone is, performing on their free throw shot. And we would have things like nutrition, thoughts, training, all the different factors. And we have about 8 or 9 of them, and they'd be listed off. And then he would check off or prioritize the things that he feels are affecting his performance seconds before his free throw. So we can rapidly identify where exactly is it, at least from his perspective, that that's occurring. And then it's simple, because then all we got to do is say, okay, you said thoughts, so tell me about the thoughts you're having seconds before the free throw. And he would say it. And then what we would, of course, try to do at that point is, the optimum is to have him thinking neutrally and just the facts, but with this positive bent. So, it could be a motivational sandwich that we do, or it could be something completely different. It would depend on, what he was saying. But that's how you can use these standardized instruments, though, to try to formally assess and, get it right.
Yeah, I like the assessment part, what he's thinking right before the free throw and what he's thinking right after. Because even like when you're watching the game and you look at his countenance, you could just tell like he's gonna miss before he even shoots the ball. And you could tell by his reaction after he misses as well too. So there's something going on psychologically when he's taking a shot or taking a free throw.
Well, given your background, I mean, you could tell that, you have that insight, to realize that, that all those performance timeline parts, he might prioritize seconds before, but like you pointed out, he might also be influenced by what happens afterwards. And so what we would do is first talk about the thoughts he has before the free throw, but then we come around to his second priority, which maybe it's seconds after, you know what I mean? So we would eventually cover all the different spots, but it's interesting. If you think about it, if you have a thought like, I'm going to dominate, or in a free throw, you might find that his motivational thought might be to relax him, let's just say. So I'm cool headed, or, I'm feeling relaxed. Something like that might be his motivational statement. That's going to prime him so that when he actually describes the action or instruction about what he's been taught to do, or what he knows, that would be the optimum form, he would describe that. So give me an example of if you were him,
Yeah.
and there was something that he wanted to focus on when he was actually shooting. It depends on who you're talking to, So it's always different. But throw one out for me. So like, what would be a statement that he would focus on perhaps seconds before he shoots?
Um, I think he should be thinking about his free throw routine when he right
Okay.
before he's shooting. Nothing
And by the way,
else.
that's very good. We have routine that's actually one of the options. And so if his seconds before was to just think, okay, it might be something like, I feel relaxed, going to follow my routine. And that saying I'm relaxed primes him to be relaxed during his thought about the routine. And then once he has that thought, we want to reinforce his thinking about the instructions in a relaxed way. So that's where he would just say, and it's gonna, um, it's gonna go right, it's gonna go right through the rim, or something like that, or um, it's gonna make a beautiful sound or something like that, and that would reinforce the instruction. So it's kind of like sandwiched in by two motivational words. One is a primary to kind of get him charged up for it in a positive, relaxing way. The second one is to reinforce him for thinking that way. And that's going to help him to get into the habit, or what you were describing is like a routine in the whole sequence of things, so that eventually he'll be okay to get through it. So who knows what's going on? I don't know his situation, and I
Yeah.
have never, like, until you talk with the individual athlete, we could be completely off. And that's the other thing, I think, is the importance of not, everybody likes to kind of be, the Sunday morning quarterback, but when you're in that
Yeah.
moment, there's
Yeah.
so much things that they have to focus on. It can
Man.
get a little bit difficult. So that's the other thing. Like when you said should, we all kind of have a general tendency to understand what should be there, but that would be the first thing I'd say to them is hey, listen, throw out that should. Shoulds and musts don't have any part in your thinking when you're doing a free throw, and that would take off probably a little bit of pressure and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. I hope Ben Simmons watching this so he can give you a call. Or he needs to work with you.
Well, I'm sure he's working with some really good, top dogs. So, I'm sure he's going to be all right. I mean, and it's very consistent if you think about it. Like his mindset is that, like, if you think about it, like, so maybe he's having a hard time with his free throws, but if you think about it like a goal that's measurable and specific, et cetera, he's having a difficulty there, and he's probably putting too much emphasis on that, more than likely, or certainly other people are, because people like to look and try to, figure out things, and because inherently then they think that, oh, I figured it out for him, but this guy is he's tremendously talented, and more than that, he actually puts it on the court and does it. So he has strengths that blow people away in other areas. So for whatever reasons, he's focused on those other things, at that given time, given his resources. And who's to blame a guy for that? It just means he's allocating his attentions to something else that would be very important. So I think that would be another step, is to remind him of his greatness in all these other areas, and and hopefully the audience can kind of appreciate that when they judge our athletes that are out there, because it's a hard thing, and so
Yeah.
uh, and this is interesting too, because I think in terms of the media, athletes, if you think about it, just like with Cirque du Soleil, these are indirectly entertainers, like
Yeah.
if you think about it, it's an entertainment industry, basketball in this case. And so ultimately there is this inherent nature by the best to want to be the best, to show off, to let people know what they can do. And that's America, that's an American dream. And so I think that there's the problem with that is that then when criticism happens and you're finally tuned in to the task at hand, it becomes very difficult, even more so. People don't give a shit. They basically never end up being in a Ben Simmons situation. You know what I mean? Because they would have been screened out a long time ago. So
Yeah.
I think that's another, important thing to say about our athletes, the elite ones in particular.